So every podcast that comes out at this time, every new episode should open with some sort of cliche like, are we going to do this? Yeah, we're going to do this now. We're going to get into it. I mean, there's sort of no other way to do it. How you doing, Brendan?
Yeah. I've been known to be an optimist. So it's like, let's look on the bright side, which is surely there's a bright side. So we'll figure that out. We're vaguely talking around the election results of the 2024 U.S. election. I'm assuming that's kind of what's on my mind a bit. Yeah, I don't like it. Margaret's been like rock steady on it. Like she's really found some vibrant resiliency as of late, and it's she's not happy about it either. But she's being really realistic and just like, well, we don't actually know what's going to happen. Yeah, there's a really bad plan laid out in front of us. Things weren't great the last time he was here, and he's more prepared, and that's not great. But we don't know the future, and all we can do is live in the now. Because now is all we have. We're not going to let it disrupt our plans, and we're okay. Best case scenario, we can start maybe being more, I don't know, available for other people either that need help and support. I don't know what that would look like right now. I kind of feel like I'm glad there are people out there that are helping other people, and I don't really feel like I am capable of doing that right now in a few ways. But yeah, it's gonna be really hard for a lot of people in the U.S. and in the world because of this. Margaret read a article about, because Trump got about the same amount of votes that he got last time. Kamala got 15 or so million fewer votes than Biden did. Some people can read this election as like, oh, the sexists and the racists came out to vote for Trump, which is like, sure. But also,
no, they were already there. Yeah, they were already doing that.
Yeah. The Democrats are so unlikable. They're doing such a bad job that they can't even get enough votes over the guy that's a terrible option.
From what I saw, and it's only really the stuff. I'm not a reliable judge of this, but I'm here for you to refute this. All I really saw, and again, this is probably the lens through which social media shows me the stuff, but all I really saw was anti-Trump stuff from the left. And what I mean by that is, what's your stance can't just be, but not this guy.
Right.
What are your policies? What are your things other than, but not that guy?
Yeah.
And that's what I saw almost exclusively was, but not that guy. It was all anti-Trump which, fair enough.
Yeah.
But not pro anything. The right is always anti something. Like that's what they do. That they're never really pro anything, but they present it. That's why pro-life is called pro-life, because they've got enough clever marketing people to know you can't call it anti something, even though conservatives are never for anything. They're always against everything, but they frame it in a way that makes it sound like they're for.
It's not how they used to be. I miss classical conservatism where they were actually for things.
Like the idea
for
of
conserving,
holding a line or whatever.
Yeah,
and so and that's what I didn't see, and I think it was different for us in the UK when we had our little election, because the right had done such a bad job. There was not much of a point in dunking anymore, because it's like, we know, like, what are you actually going to do about it? Is the question. We couldn't just go, but not those guys, because everyone was like, no, we know not those guys, but what are you going to do?
Right.
And when I woke up on, Thursday morning, and I saw that it wasn't even close, I was, really taken aback. And with you saying, the same number turned out for Trump, then that means, you've got a bunch either not voting or a bunch voting for a third party.
Nope, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
No, they got both the two biggest third parties together got like 1 million votes.
Yeah.
So that wasn't, and which is like what they always get. Yeah. No, it's totally
the unkind way of putting it is America just couldn't elect a woman. Like they just couldn't do it. Like they would do anything else, put a criminal in charge, anything above electing a woman.
Yeah. Well, another factor is that Kamala only had like 100 days. Like Biden held on to the nomination for so long that, he promised during the last election that he was only going to run for one term. And then he just ignored that and ran for his second term up until he couldn't compete in a debate. And finally everybody convinced him like, no, you got to back out. But like he railroaded through the primary process. Like we didn't actually get a choice in who our Democratic nominee was going to be. It just switched to Kamala. And while she has some great attributes, the biggest of them being that she's not Trump, she has a pretty bad track record. Like she's a prosecutor, and like a lot of people who vote Democratic are actually liberal or leftist, and they don't like a prosecutor. They don't like somebody who is with a track record a lot like hers. And there's also the factor of her being a woman, and we can't just ignore that fact. That's really, oh my God, so stupid.
But you're adding some nuance there that I wasn't aware of, so I appreciate that, because we know very little about her record, or in the popular zeitgeist. Anyway.
Exactly,
I'm sure
and that's
in the news,
exactly. But so do Americans. They know very little about her too. They didn't get a great chance for her to campaign
to
and get to know her
in that sense.
Yeah.
She was so suddenly just sort of there, and yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, she did campaign 4 years ago for president and was out in the primary, and then was picked by Biden to be his running mate. And then during Biden's 4 years, she freaking disappeared. She wasn't. Nobody knew what she was doing at all, and it kind of felt like, do we even have a vice president? Are they doing anything? There was no like publicity about what was going on with that. And so then it was like, oh yeah, remember her? She's back in charge now. It's like, what? Wait, what? So yeah, this is also coming from the perspective of somebody who doesn't watch TV. I'm off social media mostly. I skip almost every ad on YouTube. Like I'm not getting a lot of inputs. I'm not getting the same inputs that the rest of the country is. So
one of the thoughts that occurred to me today is because, for one thing, this doesn't just affect the rest of the world because America is as powerful as it is. A part of that means, for one thing, we've got Nigel Farage over there in the US, who is a big friend of Trump and was there on the day of the acceptance or the victory speech, palling it up. I mean, he did the reality TV thing last year. He was on the big reality, like My Big Comfort Watch, My Big Winter Comfort Watch. He was in that and ruined it. Well, didn't ruin it, but kind of spoilt it. And is someone with no shame and who has learned a lot from the Trump playbook. I would not be surprised. Well, I mean, he will run again for PM. I mean, it's a different system over here in the UK. He will run under his own party, and he will make a big bid, and he will have learned a lot from Trump. And my understanding is, and this gets maybe a little bit, not conspiracy theory, but a little bit sort of future gazing in a not very good way, that there is a UK equivalent of Project 2025.
Ugh.
Yeah, which
just the worst
is not and cannot be accepted because it will go through quicker because we're a much smaller island. Like if it happens, it will, you know what I mean? Because you've got 50 of us, well more, but you know what I mean? to get through, and there's the various legislatures and things, and there's a lot to get through, and who knows what he's going to manage to unravel in 4 years' time or abolish.
Yeah.
And that could happen a lot quicker here. So the kind of thing I'm coming to is, in true Mark tradition, I'm just going to say the words and then we can judge them later and pick them apart. But I kind of feel like we have to shit or get off the pot. I think we, as well-meaning, nice, liberal types, have got to stop yelling and going, we should do something about this.
And actually do something.
And actually fucking do something about it, yeah. And that starts with the Google search. It starts with fucking even asking ChatGPT, like, what can I do? What should I do? And it will probably say things like volunteer in these organizations or whatever.
Yeah, organize, yeah.
Yeah, I get absolutely anyone who's like, we don't have the energy for that. We're living our lives. And that's fine. In which case, then, you can't rescind something that you have yourself, but put down your megaphone.
Sure.
And just, be an ally. Like, if that's where you do that. But don't. I think we have to stop with this. I'm going to hold up a big megaphone. I'm going to shout and tell you that it's all terrible.
Right.
But actually not. Because that's what the problem is that we have. We just have this big pool of outrage. And the fact is, I was listening to Marco Arment talk about this today, like, the right mobilizes in a way that the left doesn't. The right coalesces under a common goal, a common banner in the way that the left doesn't. And that's because the left is smarter. It's made up of smarter people. They understand nuance a lot more. They know that there's a lot more to situations.
Yeah. There's more variety of opinions and perspectives.
Yeah. Because
there's different priorities for different people. Kind of yeah, where they all the right seems to have one or a few solid objectives, and they just focus on that, and it's like everything else doesn't really matter to us.
Yeah.
Whereas, to the left, to the liberals, to the
people who
the open-minded, they care about more things, and so if you're good on one aspect but you're not good on another, you could lose the vote.
Yeah.
And it's pretty frustrating.
And it doesn't matter, because what matters is power, is accruing power. And that's the thing I've just realized now as we're talking, is like, that's why they coalesce, because they want power. And that's not because they're inherently evil. They just want the control. They just want to be able to do, because they have decided that they know what's best. Now, the left has decided that they know what's best. Of course they have. But I don't think they seek power in quite the same way. I mean, let's look at the fact that so many of the biggest tech companies are like avowedly now right-leaning. Not even right-leaning. They are.
Yeah.
We can't do this whole, like, I don't pick a side, because there is a correct answer. So you can't do a Bezos and say, we're not going to endorse either candidate, because there is a correct answer. There is a correct choice. It's not the best choice, but there is the correct one. I don't mean morally, and that's why I'm not using the word right. I mean, there is a correct choice to make. Or more importantly, there is an incorrect choice. So by remaining neutral, you are picking the wrong choice.
Yeah.
And we cannot do that in a society anymore, because it's not just left and right. It's not, and again, I was listening to John Siracusa on this, like, this is not what it was 20 years ago when a conservative got in power and we were disappointed and we were annoyed. It wasn't the same. Those were still valid viewpoints. They were wrong. Things like the social safety net and all that kind of stuff, they were still wrong, but they were viewpoints. They could argue their case. We're not in that case, and we're not in that situation now. There is a right and a wrong, a correct and an incorrect choice. And so by refusing to take a side, you are effectively taking the wrong side, and we just can't. So
yeah, I agree.
I'm going to figure out what the hell I can actually do.
Yeah, that's smart. I've been prepared for this outcome for the past year or so. I felt like it's been coming, not only just by observation of us as a country, but through astrology and the way that Pluto entered Aquarius for a brief time, for like 4 or 5 months or something earlier this year, and then it slipped back into Capricorn just for the election, just for the time frame of the election. And then it's now in a few days it's going to go back into Aquarius, and it'll stay in Aquarius for like 20 something years. When Pluto's in Capricorn, it has something to do with authoritarianism, regression, and conservatism. And Aquarius, I'm speaking out of my depth a little bit here, but it's a bit more about revolution and freedom and upheaval. And that also coincides with a phenomenon called the fourth turning, which is about larger societal shifts. And there's 4 kind of phases within each society as it grows and dies. And it's been kind of cataloged over time, watching different societies and kingdoms and dynasties build and fall. And it is apparent to those in the know that the United States is in its fourth turning, which is a bit of upheaval, a bit of burning down, a bit of resetting and restarting. And so it could be that, Trump kind of had to be elected so that it could actually be a wake up. Like the first Trump election was startling and a wake up call to people being like, oh, things aren't as bright and daisy as we thought. And then we kind of just carried on and didn't really do anything. We didn't change anything. We just thought, oh, now we know there's a problem. Let's just elect another guy that's the same as what we've always done. That'll be the fix to the problem. And let's carry on. Oh, okay, that guy got elected. Everything is fine. Okay, we defeated Trump. There's no bad news. We don't have to do anything. And now this is actually showing, no, nothing changed. You didn't do anything over the last 4 years or 8 years. The problems that were there are still there. We still need to address them. To me, that is the bright side, is that maybe we could actually wake up this time.
And on that note, should we do some music?
Let's do it.
So the assignment was hymn, Hymm.
I was excited for this prompt. I was kind of, knowing that we were going to be talking about God on the last episode, I was thinking, I want to do something with that. And with your prompt of a hymn, I was like, oh, fun. This is new ground. I have an epic and beautiful idea for a song, and it's still in my head, and it is not what I'm presenting to you. This is like, I've kind of edited and tweaked it, so it's not a first draft, but it's like, it's an alternate draft. Like, when I want to keep working on this thing, because I think this is going to be really cool. And what I'm presenting to you is not that.
Okay. Yeah,
but it's fun. But it's fun.
It's a step on the road.
Yeah. I think I'm going to pretty much delete everything of this and start fresh. This is fun. All right, that's enough preamble. Let's see what you think. Okay, everybody. God is the music. Carol. This body runs autopilot. It carries me each day. Sometimes I fail to sublimate, yet it knows the way. Oh, soul, rise and heed the whispers, not my flesh but deeper. In presence I find the answers, for I am the keeper. Holy God is in the music. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Goose bumps.
Oh, wow.
I love your soaring. I love how your voice soared. That reminds me of I can't remember. There is a specific band that reminds me of. It's a very different, but there's something in the doubling, the octave separation. That yeah, and I love that you can let it out. I wish I could. I can't. Not where I live. That is wonderful. I like the layering. I like the. It's obviously a you know, a personal message and a personal sort of revelation, and that comes through. Yeah. And yeah, I think I'm sure there's lots that you want to change because of what you said, but like I really like the execution in terms of the double. It's that high vocal. That really just tingles the spine.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you. I'm
well done.
Thank you. Yeah, there's definitely a lot I want to change. You know, what's kind of funny is when I was singing it, like I wasn't intending to go with the skit or you know, bookending
the
of
mise
it.
en scène, if you will.
Yeah, it was just going to be the song. But then I sang it, and I was like, I don't feel like I'm singing on key like I'm not hitting all the notes I want to hit, right? And then yeah, so I started like singing it a few times in a few different ways and stuff, and then I was like, what if I just layered all these together? And it kind of just sounded like a church, sounded like a bunch of people singing it, and like a chorus of people, and I was like,
Carol,
let me just make it that.
Perfect.
Carol, yeah.
That's really nice. What was the ambience at the beginning? Was that something you created, or is that from somewhere else?
Yeah, I just found a royalty-free sample of background noise in a church, kind of like grumbling and people like finding their seats and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. It sets the scene beautifully.
Thank you.
Done, sir. Lovely. Right. God. Okay. I was going to go somewhere different with this to begin with. My interpretation of him was going to be something like the kind of hymns that we would have sung at school. So what is fairly common at school, especially at a younger age within the UK, which is nominally a Christian country. You would have an assembly, usually in the morning, although my primary school, it was in the evening for reasons that are probably not interesting. And so you would have all of these different sort of hymns, and there are some, you know, that you can just, kids, I don't know if kids still learn them now, but I think adults of my age will remember them. And you know, everyone's singing in unison, whether it's, you know, all things bright and beautiful or something like that.
Sure.
And so I was going to go down that road. And then Wednesday happened, and I went a different way.
Oh.
This is possibly the most earnest and sincere and graspingly serious song that I think I've certainly ever written.
Wow.
So I'm just gonna hit the button.
Hit the button.
Here we go. This is called Hymn to Hope. Take my hand, I'm holding on. Take my weight to lean upon. Take my words and take my deeds. They will always be the best of me. And when you feel afraid, mistreated and betrayed, I'll never judge you. 'Cause we can survive definitely went over the time limit.
Wonderful, dude. Oh, I got chills. I love the earnestness. I love the message. Oh, that's fucking beautiful.
Here we go.
That's gonna be stuck in my head for sure.
Yeah, I was halfway through working yesterday, and I was like, a couple of little ideas came, and I recorded the melody. Yeah, recorded the vocal. That was just the demo vocal, really, and I was going to re-record it. And then there's a couple of bits there that was like, something happened to my voice in the second chorus that I was like, yeah, I think I want to keep that because that wasn't intended, and it kind of works.
Yeah. It comes through.
Yeah, there you go.
Awesome, dude. I love it. I loved it. Oh, that's beautiful.
Ugh. I've got a blood pressure machine.
Ooh,
yeah,
a little cuff, a little
cuff. Yeah. So every day I get to be constricted. Yeah. So that's quite good.
And then and what are the you don't have to share the numbers, but like what are the results kind of
it's still a little bit I think
showing you
sort of up in the air. I'm starting to plot them in Apple Health now, so I'm starting to see them, but I've only got 3 days, and I'm not yet settled on the time of day and whether it's before or after I've taken the blood pressure medication. So I've got to sort of get that routine set, and then we'll establish a bit of a better baseline.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That kind of stuff. But, I bought one that's, of course, it's Bluetooth. And so it just,
Awesome.
goes over, bloops the details over to a phone. It's not that expensive, actually. And USB-C, which is great.
Very good.
So, yeah. So I can bring that with me. Because I'm sure I'll still be dealing with that, but yes, gotta now sort of have a slightly different take on the diet thing, because I've got a high cholesterol thing, and so like I can't be doing with loads of eggs and loads of butter and loads of things that are keto. I've got to think where I get I need different fats. Have been thinking about the beans. So
yeah.
Just so you know, like I am always going to do when I sit with a GP. I'm always going to like do what the GP says. Just so you know, the conversation we're about to have.
Absolutely, I'm not going to prescribe anything. But like no, you have your people who have had a doctorate. Like you listen to them.
Yeah.
I'll just say, dietary cholesterol is not the same as cholesterol in the blood, and what you eat. I would strongly encourage you to check out a couple videos by Dr. Gymnatus. I'll send you a link, and they'll be in the show notes. There was a myth created around fats and cholesterol and the heart back in, I think it was in the 40s or 50s, because a guy named Ansel Keys wanted to sell his rations to the government, and so he falsified a bunch of it's always capitalism.
Yeah.
He manipulated data in some studies to show how the correlation between fat and cholesterol and other health issues, and it stuck. And then the American Heart Association was created, and they have this big budget because of capitalism, and that myth has been put forward to us for so long, and this whole no fat movement and a bunch of stuff.
Oh, I know, that was huge. Like with all of the spreads, the replacements for butter and like margarine, like big in the 80s and 90s. Yeah. Oh, and I know we've had a reintroduction to fat and the idea of sort of healthier fats.
Avocado oil and olive oil, like those are your go-tos. Those are really the good ones. Any fat that's in a liquid state at room temperature is an unsaturated fat. Any fat that's solid at room temperature is a saturated fat. For the most part. There are some exceptions to that, but for the most part. And so the unsaturated fats are going to be better for your body to be able to use. A saturated fat is in a solid state, and all of its receptors are saturated, so it doesn't play well, it doesn't modify, you can't use it as easily. What your body has to do is break it down into an unsaturated fat, which takes energy, and then it can be used as a resource. And so the saturated fats are fine, but they just cost more internally.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get it. I'm just an idiot who watched some seminars, and
I wouldn't
there
go that
are
far.
other...
Like, no.
But really,
you're not
like,
coming at this from ignorance.
No. But like, I see, taking you out of the picture, I see people go to their doctors, their MDs, their physicians, their family doctor, and they get this advice from somebody who, like, well, especially, I'll speak for America because I don't know the UK health system nearly at all. They don't get any education on nutrition. Mm-hmm. They have a super low amount of what they're taught, and it's like, so I want to say high level or low level. It's like it's
high level. I think yes.
High level.
And
yeah.
I also don't think you're far off base with the UK, because she was almost like, these are the things you want to like. Oh yeah, I think I was expecting a slightly more detailed answer in terms of, you know, and yeah, no, I think we had hit the limit, and you know, it's like, okay, we hit that particular limit. You have to keep so many things in your brain in terms of what the human body can do.
They know medications and procedures.
Yeah,
that's what they've studied. And if you need a medication, then great, that's who you want to go to. But I would encourage a nutritionist or somebody who has studied food for their life, for their medical degree, over what a
generalist. Yeah. And I was, I mean, I'll be honest, kind of relieved, because at least there was, you know, a short term, well, no, you know, a proactive solution being made right now. But it did, you know, it did go straight to a prescription, you know, and I was kind of relieved not to have a lifestyle conversation, but still, you know, one can't help but remark, like, yeah, and that's you know, that's what we do, because it gets people out the door as quickly as possible, you know.
It does.
Here, take
it
this,
does.
and you know, it'll work for me, but also
just like
other stuff will work a lot better,
right? Just like how antidepressants are great for somebody with suicidality, and they need an instant help while they do change their lifestyle. They actually have to make some real long-term life changes. Same goes for somebody that's in your situation. Like, the pill's not going to work forever. I mean, you could just be on the pill forever, but you're going to still have the same or similar problems or worse problems. Like, it's not good for you.
No.
The pill, you know, it's like always putting a Band-Aid over the same thing, and it's like it keeps ripping off. It keeps ripping your hair out. It keeps, like, it kind of gets sore and irritated underneath. Like, eventually, it's not going to be good for you. In the short term, it's very good. You want to protect that wound, but yeah. You know all this.
Hey, we absolutely. Yeah. But I will say, because they've switched me onto a different drug just because it's better in the long term, and they had to make sure it wasn't going to kill my kidneys first.
That's good.
So I'm on the new thing, and yeah, I think a week of being on, I mean, today is like, I'm full of beans. Like, you know, I have beans, and I think I was talking last week being a bit more full of beans.
Yeah.
And I have lots of beans today. I've got lots of beans in the slow cooker as well, because I decided this morning that I was going to slow cook a chili. So yeah, there's like a kilogram or so of mince and of beans and celery and all sorts of other things that have sat there. So yay. We had a conversation about creating and new things, and I had a conversation with someone a day ago who tried to sort of very lovingly steer me, and it's like, yes, I think I'm coming to the end of my, well, let's not. I would like to think I'm coming to the end of my manic search for Mark's manic search for meaning.
Okay.
Like, what the hell next?
Yeah.
Basically, what the hell next?
Yeah.
I had a weird wobble on Wednesday about what I do, and I think that the main frustration has been, as it has been for the last few months, the idea of feeling like a race car that only gets to pop down the road to church every Sunday, and I've got a lot of stuff that I want to let out, and how do I do that? And I've got some challenges to figure out in the new year in terms of how do I either talk to my existing people and say, hey, you know what, there's a load of stuff that I can help you do, that's not making podcast episodes, that's like very different, but is all maybe in service of the same thing. And that kind of blew my head off a little bit, because so many of us are told you've got to specialize and you've got to have this one thing, and you make your offer really easy and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, yes, but I also remember, and I think I've talked to you about this before, the excitement I had going into funnily enough 2016 as a freelancer. I was doing audiobooks, podcasts, website building, app development, voiceovers, video editing. I was doing these live in-person public speaking events, producing those. There was no part of me that ever had this sense of seeing me as a product in that sense. And like, I didn't really worry about it. I had my website for the company, the one that directly preceded Podient, and it kind of had these things. I make apps and I do these things and I do this, and it all just felt fine. You know what I mean? Like, it was good. Like, you do all these different things, and there wasn't a period at which I was like, oh, what if someone comes across and they're confused? What if they don't know? It's like, it doesn't, because people don't like land on websites and go, what is this? I'm confused. They find you through some means. They find you through something, and then they go, okay, follow that channel. Like, if they're looking for someone to build a website and they find a blog post or something, or someone recommends them, and the channel that they're going down is you talking about website development, then that's the channel. That's the inquiry. And yeah, so this idea that that everyone has to be this one specific thing, I think I'm sort of, it's another thing from the last few years that I think I'm throwing off and rejecting and saying, no, I'm a digital producer, I think is probably the phrase, the role that makes the most sense for me.
Yeah.
And what I like about that, as it turns into some of the stuff we were talking about on Tuesday night, whenever it was, digital producer could mean a producer of my own stuff, our own stuff, as much as it means producing for other people. And that means, again, that I don't have to, after last year in our conversation and talking about embracing the different things that I do and the all that stuff, at some point I think I retreated after Morning Creative, and after that after I ended up sort of anxietying myself into something that ended up being shit, whilst I was still enjoying the process, which is a fucking incredible self-own. Like, what a wonderful, like, just fly your own plane into the side of a building, just bam. Like, when you were having fun flying the plane, just wonderful bit of self-destruction. Anyway.
Oh, man.
After that, I think I somewhat retreated and sort of diminished and went back into the West like Galadriel, and said, well, this is what I'm for. This is what people are asking me to do. This is what I'm good at. And it's like, yeah, but there's so much more, because I can do a lot of shit, and I'm kind of ready to let that out again and start on the next big ambitious project. In what we were talking about a couple of days ago, coupled with what I've already been doing in writing about Notion and talking about productivity. A lot of this started, I think, on Sunday night when I had a conversation with ChatGPT, basically being like, what do I do next? Like, 2025, I need to be able to build something new, because I'm seeing a shift in my client base and various things. And so I need to be able to know that there's something I can sort of step into. So help me navigate that and help me think about what I'm interested, these things that I'm interested in. And out of that came, a few different ideas that have all kind of coalesced. It's too early to call and all that stuff, but I think a few things like, the local podcast we were talking about, I think for me, that was, I need to get out and do things. And I found a local theatre. So I'm really excited about checking in with them to do some volunteering there, meet some new people, get out and, in the world. After we have our conversation here, I'm off to go and meet my old stand-up people that I did the course with earlier in the year.
Sweet.
Yeah. So
is that just for like a hangout, or are you?
Yeah, just to check in, because we haven't spoken. A lot of us haven't been in the same room in ages, so it'd be nice to do that. I'm cautious, obviously, but kind of feeling like the things are slotting into place now in a nice way. So we shall see.
That's really great. It's really great. It feels like you have an idea of what you're going to be doing. Is there kind of a plan or a roadmap or like a task list that you have in front of you, or is there?
There are big pixelated blocks, big Minecraft blocks, and what I've got to sort of start to do is break them down into smaller blocks. I was noodling around with a little piece of podcast art, and I just put up "fuck productivity." And in place of the U and the C was like a fist with like the sort of looked a little bit like
the horns?
The Rock, the devil horns. And like I was in a kind of playful mood, and I just threw it up over to LinkedIn, and I was like, "What do you think? Would you listen to this?" And one guy was like, "No, not with that name." I was like, "Okay." and a few other people, we started batting ideas around and stuff, and this notion of, or this idea, I have to separate the word notion, this idea of productivity, quote unquote, the stuff that I've been reading about capitalism and socialism and the relationship between productivity ideas and capitalism is something that I'm interested in. Also, separating the bullshit from the actual interesting good ideas. Separating the things that are just absolute procrastination adrenaline versus what actually are good ideas, and then looking at the people behind them and being able to tell those stories. That it brings together so many of my skills as someone who can write a story, someone who is genuinely interested in this stuff and has been for a good while, but also has enough of the like side eye to be able to not take it too seriously and poke fun at it when it needs to be poked fun at. And so a few of those things started to come together, and I was like, I think there is something here. Yeah, got in touch with, it's so weird, like back where I was back in February, March, emailing a podcasting veteran and being like, "Have you got any advice for me?" Because the specific person I emailed has been doing this for now, I think, 10 years and has done it very well in terms of like trying to write an audio, trying to do the sort of NPR style narrative. It's all written and presented, that kind of thing. So one of the fun things I ended up doing was like, I'm doing this like properly. I coach my clients through a thing that I created called the Podcast Canvas, which helps them figure out all of the stuff like, why are you doing this? Who are you doing it for? And it goes into some pretty granular detail. And I do that for clients. And for the first time, I've actually done it for myself. And it's been great, to the point where I created a listener avatar that I'm slightly in love with, which is a bit weird. Like I got partway through writing this, I was like, "Fuck, I fancy you." But it's been really cool to sort of to do that process and to try and do it right, and to get inside that person's head. If I can use the connections I have and hopefully bridges that I haven't burned to drum up some interest in the show, and then do what needs to be done there, knowing that it is genuinely something different, and this thing doesn't exist, which is the first time that's been like since Beware of the Leopard. Like no one had done a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy show. We got to do the first one. We got to be the only one who would do it first.
Yeah.
No one's made this show, whereas people have made List Envy before. Basically, people have made Morning Creative before and done it well. People have made a lot of the things that I've made my thing was always just like, yeah, but I do it different. And it's like,
Right. It's mine though.
Yeah, exactly. But it's mine though.
Yeah.
And I've always known that when I've done it, and it's always been the voice that's been in the back of my head. And that's kind of where, that's why Morning Creative got to the state it got into, because that voice just kept screaming, and it was like, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this is a lot of work, and it really is going to take some work, and it's going to take taking seriously.
That's exciting.
Yeah, the reaction I got from the person I was not expecting. They were like genuinely seemed excited by the concept.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and I'm aware of all the things. I'm aware of the whole mark of the situation. But then to finally put the answer to finish the answer to the question. My hope then is it connects in a few different ways. Maybe there's some people who want to throw a little bit of money because they like the show. Maybe there are others who actually now want to buy a template, a Notion template that has like a bunch of the useful stuff in it. Maybe they want to join a club to help them get stuff done and be accountable. It's that kind of stuff, really.
Nice.
That could, if I do this right, the potential is for that stuff to exist. But it all hinges on, is the show remarkable? And that's the word that I've got to, like, it's got to be remarkable.
Well, you're right there in the middle of it.
It's got to be like, rip your phone out of someone's hand and be like, I must subscribe to this straight away kind of thing. Like, it's got to be, fuck, that's really good, Yeah.
I like the enthusiasm and energy you have around that. But also, I remember you saying before that, like, this thing I'm creating, it has to be this. It has to be it has to be my livelihood. It was a thing I remember before, and that being a killer for you. So when you said it has to be remarkable, it has to be rip out your phone and subscribe, I get that energy, and I just want to caution.
Yes.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying.
No, sorry. Please actually say the words, so they should be said.
Caution you against making this new project the everything, the end all be all, and it being maybe slow to start, or not have the reception at first that you expect, or be more difficult in any way, a challenge that you don't necessarily enjoy.
Yes.
There's also, like, this happened with Bramble as well. You got to a point where you created a great product, and there were things that needed to be done, and you didn't want to do them, and you walked away. And, like, that's great, that's fine. But also,
where'd all that time go?
There's going to be things you don't want to do. There's always difficult parts, and the reason why something is great, oftentimes, there's kind of two parts, I think, to an awesome thing. One, the idea. And if, like, you have an idea that no one's ever done before, and that's really great. And then the execution, and both of them have stumbling blocks. Both of them have barriers. Maybe it's the case that nobody has ever thought of this before, or maybe it's the case that people have thought about it before and thought about trying to execute it, ran into something hard and stopped. I don't want to see that be you when you're so passionate about. I mean, you do you always, but, like, I'm excited for you to be able to pursue something and keep pushing past the hard parts.
That's the key, and that's what I've just been thinking as you've been talking. There is something about it, not like, I'm not sitting here thinking it's going to be easy.
Awesome.
Listener, that is not necessarily, that is often not the case. Often I do things because they are fun, but also because they're easy. And I don't think this one's going to be easy.
Yeah.
But that's not daunting to me. I'm still very uncertain about my ability to execute on it.
Sure.
But that's also part of, I don't know, that's kind of part of the fun. It's like,
yeah. And it's so rewarding afterwards too.
Yeah. And to, like, is that in me? Do you know what I mean? Like,
It is.
No. Well, that's the question. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
don't know.
know.
You don't know. I know.
And it's going to be. I think it's going to be fun to find out because I would like to think, and you're absolutely right that like it's not. I'm not going to get the good boy sticker right from the beginning.
No.
I'm not going to get the good boy sticker for quite some time. What I've got to be okay with is
maybe not even aiming for the good boy sticker at all.
Not even aiming for the good boy sticker. Thinking about the body of work, thinking about creating something that I can look at and be proud of.
Yes.
And Beware of the Leopard. It's absolutely that.
Yeah.
I'm hugely gratified by the fact that actually towards the end we did get people who discovered it and liked it and talked about it, and that's mega. Awesome. And
it was an incredible show, especially at the end. Especially like the A to Z was just kind of like fascinating and amazing, and the production, and like the commercials that you would have, like all of throughout was amazing. But then afterwards, when you shifted into your own writing entries into the book, like just fucking brilliant, and all of you were great writers, and like that was just super.
We brought some good stuff.
Very.
I'm really proud of, and funnily enough, the one that the piece that I am the proudest of all the pieces that I wrote was about productivity. Was the because it's all a giant piss take of productivity, and I came up with different drugs that would help with your mental acuity or whatever, and there was procrastinine, which is my favorite, do it all, and synapsalax.
Those are great.
Yeah, and the whole thing was written like a BuzzFeed listicle, and the lads loved it, and I had a lot of fun writing that. I did another piece about it ended up being about procrastination. I don't know why, but it was a being that turned themselves into a beam of pure light rather than actually do the task that they were assigned. They figured out how to turn themselves into a being made of pure light rather than actually fix the problem that they were supposed to fix.
That sounds like the path to enlightenment.
Hey. So like it's in my blood, it's in my bones. But like that Molly Whiskers, like I'm so proud of what I did with Molly Whiskers. There's 12, 14 episodes there that I'm just like, I did something. Do you know what I mean? Like I made something real there.
Yeah.
It was what it was meant to be. Like that's the nice thing about, like, even we did the season afterwards, but even the 60 odd episodes that we did, which were just the A to Z, that is a complete thing, and it had a start and end, and we saw it through. We made we made every episode, and that is a complete piece, and Molly Whiskers is the same. I'm probably going to draw List Envy to a close because my guests enjoy it more than the listeners do, and I enjoy it. But that's
sure.
As I said before, like there are many shows like it, but I've got a hell of a guest to end on, which is going to be exciting. I don't know, man. It's like I said, I'm aware of all the stuff. I'm aware of all the baggage, especially over the last few months, which has just been me absolutely rattling my cage and trying to just make sense and find the thing and figure it out, and it's getting there. It's getting there, and I'm hoping that 2025, sort of the relaunch of Mark Steadman as a maker of things, not just but like, for want of a better phrase, Mark Steadman as the talent.
Yes.
I'm going to take another shot at making Mark a thing.
I love it. I have spent a lot of my life wanting the easy thing. And I struggle with this, and I struggle and juggle this concept of like living in the now. And if this is all we have, if the we're living in this moment, and like, I want it to be good. I want it to be a good moment. I want to be happy in the moment always. Like, let's just live life and be happy. And yet there is a future. We are entering the future always. And if I want something to be good in the future, I have to work for it. There's a payoff for hard work. The future is not guaranteed, and no details about the future are guaranteed, but it takes hard work for the rewards to be rewarding. There's a better word for that, but
it's an experiment, and we're creating a hypothesis. If I do these things, if I lift these weights, if I eat these foods, if I write this and make it really good, then X. My hypothesis is that X will happen. The difficulty is the experimentation period. The fermentation period takes a long time.
It takes a long time, and there's no guarantee.
There's no guarantee. There's also often very little observable activity, so it doesn't feel like it's working.
And even there, it feels like a regression. In many ways, it feels like you have to take a step backwards, because you can't do the good thing, or you don't get the results you expect, and they're worse than you expect. And so you can have, like, when you start a new workout routine, you're sore, or you start eating a diet and your digestion changes, or you gain weight when you wanted to lose weight. And like, these things, they're not always linear, and they're not always what you expect, but you have to like put in that effort to keep doing it, and maintain and walk towards pain to be able to actually make the new habit you want, build the new thing you want to do. And that, I feel like, that's kind of one of the reoccurring messages of this show, is like, the hard work pays off, and it's hard to see all that at first. Speaking of hard work, enlightenment is not, I would argue, is not as much hard work as is portrayed. I wouldn't say like I'm fully enlightened, but I feel like, as we've talked about many times on this show, I feel a certain sense of lightness and happiness and ease with life a lot of the time. I've always had the impression that, to achieve enlightenment, you have to go, live in a monastery on a mountain, and shave your head and wear robes and chant like a monk, and then you'll achieve enlightenment somehow. And what does that mean? And they all seem not that happy anyway. And like, what even is that? And it's so, I feel like that the marketing on enlightenment is very poor. I feel like enlightenment is kind of achievable. You have to work on it. It's not what we in our Western built society are guided towards, or taught and coached on through our upbringings. But it's something that we can achieve as just a part of our everyday life. I'll sit down on the toilet. This happened the other day, or yesterday, I think, and I sat down and I was like, took a deep breath in, like, fuck, everything's good. Like, and just I can just sit and clear my mind, and a wave of relaxation and excitement and energy and peace just rolls over me. And I think anybody can achieve that, and I think that's really I think it's
I was
a goal worth.
I was there, and I've been thinking about this recently. I was there. I would get those moments, and I would get like a tingle down the spine, and just like, oh, and like I would contract like in a nice way, in that like a little self hug of just like kind of this internal just like little bit of joy, and it would just it would just come. And yeah, I've been trying to access that again, and I think it comes from a bit of self-love. I think it comes from that inner like being on your side and knowing that you're thoroughly there for yourself.
Yeah,
which is what I've lost. Yeah, would like to find again.
I hope you do. I was talking with a friend who might listen now. They've recently gone through a divorce, and they expressed that they have a new thing in their life that's really exciting and kind of taking their mind off of things, and they're trying to set boundaries for themselves to, yes, I love this new thing, but I also need to have my alone time and my solitude. And it's like I have to pull myself away from this really great thing this makes me really happy, and I have to go and be sad or be unhappy or have this unhappy time. And I was kind of like, wait, what? Wait, why is the alone time unhappy? Like, I get why the new thing is really happy, but like, and he explained it was kind of like, in comparison, it's not as thrilling. But my mind went to like, is there an issue with self-love? Like, is there an issue with you don't like being by yourself because you're with yourself? Because for me, that was definitely an issue before. Like I didn't really hate myself, but I didn't like myself, and I wasn't thrilled to be by myself. And that has changed for me. I love that now.
Oh, there's that thing where you get it in, and we may have talked about this before, but you get it in sitcoms sometimes where two characters, for whatever reason, the way characters often get written is they seem to be written in pairs, and you would get two together who don't really, like, they never really interact. And then suddenly they're in a scene together, and it's like, we don't really have anything to say to each other because we don't.
Yeah.
Like, we're never paired together. And I think we can do that with ourselves. It's just like, it's not that we have this active, dislike. It's just like, we never really jet. We never really connect. We never really get to, we've sort of lost touch. And that's something to really to seek for. It's on the path to enlightenment, I suspect.
Yeah, man.
I'd like to be there again.
What do you feel like when it started to go away, or if there was any thing or things that changed for you?
Yeah, I feel like certainly the last year, but I think it's been more than that. I think, say last year, more like the last 18 months, maybe 2 years. A lot of stuff changed for me in the pandemic, not because of the pandemic. Just that happened to be the time frame. I can lead myself very easily into thinking that there are problems that aren't necessarily there, or that are bigger than they are. They get, and this is the case for lots of us. We can lose perspective, but if you don't have someone to bounce off and go, no, that's probably not the case, or have you thought about it this way or whatever, you might see things differently. But I don't know what it is, other than I'm giving myself the grace and using the cliche of a midlife crisis, because there is something about meaning and the next thing, and that has been very much a search. It's like, what's next? Because this all feels temporary. It's funny, like I was having a conversation with the business hippie community a couple of days ago of like, me as the podcast guy, this, that, and the other. And I was thinking, and it's not as if I'm like mega successful at that. Like, I don't earn that much money and I don't have that much, notoriety, but like, that's the one thing that people know me for. And so having this sort of I've sought, and you've watched me, and listener, you can hear over the last year all the different things I've started, all the different things I've tried, and I carry some, shame around that, or some no, I won't say shame, but embarrassment around that, because it's all just in this kind of almost desperate search for what's next, and the desperation is because I'm clearly not. I think, I think there is a sense of being on a burning platform or a decaying platform, and needing to be able to build a raft to the next thing, or build my own raft. I think that's actually a bigger thing, is like, I want to be able to build my own raft so that I can sail, rather than what feels like right now, the bear on the polar bear on the ever decreasing iceberg. And that might be completely in my head, but that's certainly how it feels. Like, it feels like there is a finiteness to what I'm doing, and also just, not necessarily I don't know, I'm not necessarily excited to go to work every day, and not everybody gets that, and that's fine. But yeah, welcome to being 40.
Yeah, man, I relate with the not being excited to go to work thing. Like, it's so important for me to enjoy my work because I don't care about the money. And like money's important, but I don't get any sense of reward from earning the money. It's not a motivation, and that is the end result, is I'm exchanging my goods and services for monetary value. But since that doesn't give me any sense of achievement or satisfaction or happiness, I have to like my work, or else I'm not going to do it. So I'm just going to opt out. And yeah, I've been finding I really do like my work. My work of remodeling. I get so much. It's so rewarding. Not only like the aspect of actually doing something with my hands and building something and seeing it change in front of me, but then the surprise and delight when the client comes in and sees it. Yeah, every time, it's like sometimes it's hard to actually get motivated to actually start the work, but once I do, it feels so great. And so yeah, I highly recommend liking your work. That's long story short. But also, you gotta be able to get through the hard stuff and like do the things you don't want to do. It can't be good all the time, and that's part of, like, one of the things. Like, I'm doing some plumbing work on my house here, and like that's not my forte. I don't enjoy it. I don't know it. I don't feel comfortable with it, but I need to do it. And yeah,
and you will get, by doing it, you will know. You might not know it, but you will know more of it.
Yeah.
And so the next time you come across that problem, be it for yourself or be it for a client, it's like, it's a Unix system. I know this.
Yes. Man, I love God mode. I love the concept and idea of it, and I love the idea of pursuing that more. And I'm starting to build myself back up, thinking that it's something that I could do. I really tore myself down after the arbitration results and kind of losing myself and my habits for a while. But yeah, actually this men's group is kind of seeing people's responses to how I describe things has been really motivating, because I've told these concepts and shared this information with other people and had much less of a reaction, or no reaction, or a negative reaction. When that's all I have to go off of, it can be really demotivating. Through our you are my discussions and talking with this men's group, it's been pretty exciting. I think I'm gonna do. I like your idea of just getting the information out there, just making a product and having it be free, and then being available.
Not even necessarily be a product, and this is what I've been thinking about at the moment, is the curation aspect. Even just sharing the materials, sharing the findings, sharing. It's pointing at stuff and going this,
Yeah.
and adding a little bit of your synthesis on top of that to say this connects with this idea, or this is a little bit technical and what they're talking about is this, or this is my understanding of it. That's where the value is for me, as someone who is interested in consuming this stuff. Is, we talk about it on this show, but I want to hear and see the stuff that you're reading and the excerpts and the passages, and that, I think, because like where I had a struggle with Morning Creative is I felt like I was leading people, and I didn't know enough of the way forwards. I didn't have enough of all the fucking gurus in the world will tell you, oh, you only need to be a couple of steps ahead and you're a guide, not a, okay. But you still need to have walked the terrain, and you have walked the terrain.
Yeah.
In the same way that I feel qualified to talk about productivity stuff because it's stuff that I play with and have experience of and know what it does to the brain, to my brain at least. I can talk with authority on my experience of that and my understanding of it. And you can with this. And that doesn't require you to have everything, have a program, have everything set up.
Yeah.
It starts as a blog.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's really true. I enjoyed this very much. Thank you as always, Mark. Thank you, listener.
Thank you as always. Thank you as always, Brendan. That felt very formal. Thank you for coming.
Yes. And as always, correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, and I remembered the there was a bumper sticker idea I told you about in a month ago or something that I couldn't remember, and it was a play on the "Don't blame me, I voted for X candidate" or whatever. My take on it was, "Don't blame me, I voted in a first past the post voting system."
Nah.